Good afternoon. Appreciate you being out here today to cover this on this blustery day in Washington, D.C. And I would be out here in any kind of day or weather to stand up for the right to life of our unborn children, as would everyone behind me and millions beyond us across America. And to start this off, I'd say the principle is this. We want to roll out and discuss the heartbeat bill. And the heartbeat bill is based upon this understanding, and it's a profound religious and moral understanding that every human person has the right to life. And the question that's hung before the court since 1973 is, when does life begin? We all know what that is. The first question ahead of that is human life sacred in all of its forms? And that answer is yes to almost everybody in America. Then you ask the second question, then at what moment does life begin? We stand here and assert that it has to be a distinctive moment. You can't guess a thing called viability. You can't say 22 weeks or 20 weeks versus 20 weeks. You have to say it begins at a specific instant. Our mission here, and it's the long battle has been fought, but our mission here, I think, has been reflected by Henry Hyde. And I know that my colleagues behind me that had the privilege of serving with Henry Hyde remember and think of him, the legacy that he left. And in fact, just this week, we saw President Trump sign the executive order to reinstate the Mexico City policy, which shuts off federal funding for the promotion or the commission of abortions in foreign countries. And that had been shut off by Barack Obama. And now we have President Trump that's taken the first pro-life act that he can do in a constitutional way by his pen. But here's what I wanted to remind you of, is that this is what I copied off of the back of the funeral program for Henry Hyde when he went to his maker. This is what I read sitting in there at that funeral. And it's a quote from Henry Hyde. It says, "When the time comes, as it surely will, when we face that awesome moment, the final judgment, I've often thought, as Fulton Sheen wrote, that it's a terrible moment of loneliness. You have no advocates. You're there alone, standing before God. And a terror will rip through your soul like nothing you can imagine. But I really think that those in the pro-life movement will not be alone. I think there will be a chorus of voices that have never been heard in this world, but are heard beautifully and clearly in the next world. And they will plead for everyone who has been in this movement. And they will say to God, spare him because he loved us. And God will look at you and say, not did you succeed, but did you try? Those, I believe, are the most profound words that I have heard. It inspires me anytime. Just the thought of it inspires me. And I'm confident that all of those behind me and the people in the pro-life movement agree with that statement. And so we have drafted and introduced a bill called the Heartbeat Bill. And it makes a life-saving stride in enshrining the rights of the unborn in U.S. law. And it ensures that no child for whom a heartbeat can be detected is aborted unless the life of the child's mother is endangered, and endangered in fact either due to a physical disorder, an illness, or an injury. And we place a penalty in that bill of up to 5 years for an abortionist who would violate this law. And the core tenet is this: if a heartbeat can be detected, the baby is protected. That's what we stand on here. Science has told us you can hear that beating heart, and we may well hear that in hearings as we go forward here in this Congress. But since 1973, we've seen between 59 and 60 million babies aborted. The richness of American life has been denied to them. The mothers that would have had children to raise, the fathers who were denied the opportunity to raise those children, the second and third generation are missing from our society today. Today, where you can look at a group of young people and say, look to your left and look to your right. If you don't see anybody sitting next to you, that's the ghost of the missing generations that would have otherwise been born. Human life is precious. It's sacred in all of its forms. This heartbeat bill articulates the preciousness of human life, and it gives us an opportunity to make the argument to the United States Congress, to the American people, and hopefully one day soon protect all human life from the moment of at least the heartbeat, when that's the most precise moment we can identify when human life begins. And so I am so thankful for my colleagues that have stepped up to be part of this. And I'd like to first introduce Congressman Trent Franks of Arizona, who is a stellar voice on life in this United States Congress. Trent Franks.
Thank you, Steve, and thank all of you for being here, and thank Congressman Gohmert and Congressman Perry, a seat, and tell me your name. Congressman Bacon, I'm sorry, he's a freshman. God bless him. Those are the kind of people that are the hope for this movement, and I'm so glad you're here. And so many people here. I know so many of you, but you know, as I look up at a cloudy day like this, I guess I'm sort of tempted to say something like I've said many times before, that I believe that there will come a day in America when the warm sunlight of life is going to break through these clouds and shine once again on the faces of these little forgotten children of God. And when that day comes, it will be because people like this reached down and held on to the baby's hand and reached up to hold on to God's hand and held on till the storm was gone. And I believe that there is a new day dawning in this country. I believe that Donald Trump probably was one that none of us expected would be president of the United States. And now it may be that he will be the one that will turn back the tide of this tragedy. And I also believe something else is occurring, and that is that somehow the collective conscience of America is beginning to realize the humanity of these little babies and the inhumanity of what is being done to them. And when that happens, as it has so oftentimes in history, there's an epiphany, there's an awakening of our souls collectively, and we begin to turn in another direction. That certainly happened in the past with our African American brothers and sisters, and I believe that the same thing is beginning to happen today. And this heartbeat bill, I think just the discussion of it, just the debate itself, is going to help us all realize that there really is this notion, like we see on bumper stickers, that abortion really does stop a beating heart. And once we hear the heartbeat of these little babies, maybe we will hear the heartbeat of our own conscience. And I pray that to be the case. And I'm just so honored to be here with all of you. And God help America. You know, the whole ideal of this country is that we hold certain truths to be self-evident, that all of us are created. All of us have the imago Dei, the image of God, stamped on our souls. And if we recognize that, then the rest of it gets pretty easy. And we shouldn't leave these, the least of our little brothers and sisters, out of that equation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Trent. And now I'd like to introduce from Texas, a very strong voice for life that's always a stalwart constantly, and that's my great friend Louis Gohmert from Texas.
I thank my great friend and friend for life, Steve King and Janet, all your encouragement, all of those that are here, thank you. Our founders believed in a creator that gave us unalienable rights. But when people ask, well, if they're unalienable rights, why doesn't everybody all over the world have them? Well, like any endowment, anything you inherit, it has to be fought for, or people will take those rights, what you've been inherited, they'll take them away. And I think it was no mistake when nature's God, our creator, made humans where the woman was the one that would carry a child, because generally speaking, he knew they would be more nurturing, more caring. But even a hard-hearted old bald guy like me, when you have a premature child born, they don't know if the child's going to make it. You don't know. And you hold that child in one hand. And you have, even this guy has a right to life. And there's a mother somewhere at some point that was proud of him. And I know there's at least one, and that, so it is the nature of humankind. But holding a child in one hand, having that child in an isolette, and the doctor says, talk to her. She can't see you and focus on you, but she will know your voice from those days in utero. She will know your voice, and it's very comforting. both you and your wife, she will know your voice. But as my wife was up in a hospital bed and I'm there with our child and I'm talking to her and I have my finger near her and she grabs that finger, and no, her lungs were not developed. Her heart had more development to go. But as the doctor later walked up and observed, have you noticed heart rate is still fast, breathing still shallow, but she's stabilized. She is drawing strength from you. And that's what this movement is for. A finger extended that can be grasped and held onto. Most of you have seen the picture in utero of a baby grasping the finger of the physician. And as Dr. Singh in Shreveport said, she's drawing strength from you. She's drawing life from you. Well, that's what we're here for. And just as everybody here knows, in any emergency, what's the first thing you do to determine whether this is a living being, a person with human rights? They check for a pulse. Is the heart beating? And that's what this idea is all about. And I appreciate Janet and all of those who have pushed for this day. And I hope you'll overlook the fact that I'm an old, bald, white guy. But I learned to have a heart from my daughters, from my wife. And it's something that all of us ought to have. And when that heart is beating, it's been said over and over, a civilization is judged by how it treated its most innocent, most insecure. That second most innocent, insecure group is our elderly. But the most innocent and insecure are our babies. And if they've got a heartbeat, just as you would know on any TV show, any emergency situation, if there's a heartbeat, there's life, there's human rights, there's civil rights, and that's what we're here about. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Louis. And with the press note, the sun did come out when Louis was talking. Next, I'd like to introduce Scott Perry from Pennsylvania. He has been a stalwart defender of constitutional principles, a right to life, a strong defender of America. He represents Gettysburg and all the area around Gettysburg. Scott Perry.
Thank you. Well, folks, I'm just here, privileged to be here with these courageous folks in defense of the helpless and the vulnerable little child. We in America, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, most people believe that every human life is sacred and precious, and we are duty-bound. We are duty-bound, especially as servants, to protect those lives. And it just seems to me, as probably everybody has already stated, that there is none more vulnerable, none more helpless than those poor little babies. And then it's a shame in my mind that Representative King, God bless you and thank you for bringing this bill to the floor and to our attention. But we need to have a standard, and the advances of technology and science, where there's conjecture, there has been conjecture for a long time as when is the start of life? Well, there's no more conjecture. There doesn't have to be. We can define that very easily, and especially now. And if we can save one more child, one more helpless victim out there, right? And so that's what I'm here to say, that I support these precious lives, that all lives are precious, and that our founding fathers, they knew that inherently. They knew that well. They enshrined it in our founding documents, that every life, every person has the right to life given to them, ordained to them by God. Not by this government, but by God. And so we are duty-bound to do everything we can to protect those lives and to safeguard them and to make sure that they can live and breathe free and have their life, right? So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Scott. Picking up on the theme that he's offered, before the Constitution itself and the Declaration, we have natural rights, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And those are prioritized rights. The right to life supersedes liberty and liberty supersedes pursuit of happiness. And that should be taught at every school in America, and this would be better understood. I want to also welcome to this podium an individual who has been in town here as a congressman a few days, and in fact has impressed me every day. He seems to be in the right place, doing the right thing every time, and he comes from the other side of the Missouri River from me, out of the Omaha district. And I'd like to welcome to the podium General Don Bacon. Thanks, General.
Thanks, Steve. I'll keep my comments brief. As a freshman, you find out you typically get up last and all the stuff's already been said. And half the time we're trying to find where we're walking around and where we're going too. I just think it's important as the new guy to stand clear on some core positions and make those positions clear. And I've had the opportunity today to say I stand on the side of life. And I stand on the side of those who are most vulnerable because I think it's needed. It's been said, but I'll say here, my own view is that we are miracles. We're precious. God has made us. We're made in the image of God. We all have we're all made uniquely special, and all should be given that opportunity to live up to those opportunities. So I just appreciate the opportunity to stand up here with this and stand with the most helpless and to do the right thing. So thank you, Steve, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Don. Thanks very much, Don. And now I get to introduce the driving force behind the Heartbeat Bill, and it's Janet Porter. Janet Porter's been involved in the pro-life movement for more than 2 decades, and the force that she was in laying the foundation for the ban on partial birth abortion began many years ago with Janet Porter seeing where to start that and how to develop that. And since that time, of all the things that Janet has done, she was successful in, being the driving force in passing a heartbeat bill through the state legislature in Ohio. And even though Governor Kasich vetoed that bill, the principles that succeeded in the House and in the Senate, and actually for a time had enough votes to overturn the veto of Governor Kasich, was driven by the driving force of the deep conviction and faith of Janet Porter. So she heads up Faith to Action, and as I say, her vision on this has gone on for years, but we're bringing it to Congress now, and I don't know that we would be doing that if it were not for Janet Porter. Janet?
Thank you, Congressman. I just want to say thank you to Congressman King, to my favorite congressman here. They're all here. This is so great. Congressman Franks, Congressman Gomert, Congressman Bacon Scott, we're so grateful that you're here, and to all the groups that stand with us. You're leading the charge to keep hearts beating. One of the members mentioned that we've all seen the bumper sticker, abortion stops a beating heart. But with the heartbeat bill, House Resolution 490, a beating heart will stop abortion. That's the good news. There is such great hope that we're not just going to be talking about whether we fund abortion or how much we regulate abortion. This bill will protect every child whose heartbeat can be heard. And it was just 4 days ago that I stood, as many of you did, on the other side of the Capitol, and we heard from President Trump. What President Donald Trump said is that we are going to make America safe again. The heartbeat bill is the first step to make America safe again for every child whose heartbeat can be heard. Without further ado, I want to introduce a couple of folks who've made the way to come and speak to us. First, I know you've got a tight schedule, so Catherine Glenn Foster is with the Charlotte Lozier Institute. She has a few words to say regarding the bill. If you'd come forward now.
Thank you all. Catherine Glenn Foster with the Charlotte Lozier Institute, but also President and General Counsel of Sound Legal Group. We can all agree that every innocent life deserves to be protected. But for 44 years, too many lives, 60 million lives, have tragically ended before they could even take their first breath. 16 years ago, one of those lives was my child. These children are not statistics, they are lives. I applaud our representatives for fighting this good fight, for protecting every child's life from the moment her heartbeat can be heard, and in making America safe again for our unborn children. Thank you.
Thank you. I also would like to introduce one of the key drafters of the original heartbeat bill that I was told by two people, Matt Staver of Liberty University or Liberty Council, also from Wendy Wright, who worked with Concerned Women for America. They said, if you're going to draft a bill You need Walter Weber from the American Center for Law and Justice, from the ACLJ involved, along with Professor David Forte. And I made the call, and he answered the call to draft the first heartbeat bill, which has been since introduced in 17 states. It has passed in 3. Arkansas in 2013, North Dakota 2013, and Ohio 2016, as we know, was vetoed by someone who claimed to be pro-life. But I'd like to just introduce briefly, who's dressed for the cold, Walter Weber, one of the leading forces in drafting the first heartbeat bill that passed not only in Ohio. I'd call him up and I said, now Kansas needs one. Can you draft one now for North Dakota? And he was always there, and I just wanted to give you a moment to come forward. Walter?
Janet, thank you. You're very kind. Actually recovering from a sore throat. So, today we are making a great step forward in the name of justice. One of the measures of the justice of a nation is whether it protects everybody or if it has groups that are excluded and denied, in this case, the most fundamental right of all, which is the right not to be killed. The heartbeat bill says we're going to extend the borders of justice. We're going to protect everyone who has a heartbeat. And it's not perfect, but it's a huge and very important step in the right direction. And I'm glad to be part of it. And I have to also concur that Janet is the power pack behind all this. Of course, she'd say it's all coming from God, and say amen to that. But she's the instrument that's doing this, and more power to her. Thank you.
Congressman Steve King and Louis Gohmert, we shared a time together at Phyllis Schlafly's memorial service. What a great leader who's led the charge on so many fronts. It seems only fitting to introduce next the hand-chosen executive director of the Eagle. I got to get the whole name of this thing. It's the Eagle Forum Education and Legal Defense Fund. My friend Rebecca Gantner. Rebecca.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here with all of you today. Phyllis Schlafly Eagles and the Eagle Forum Education and Legal Defense Fund wholeheartedly support this legislation. This law would protect untold thousands of babies each year whose beating hearts can be detected. We urge Congress to pass this bill and the Trump administration to sign it into law. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you. Yesterday, I sent a text to a friend of mine and said, hey, are you still in Washington? And she wasn't. I saw it's too bad because there's a press conference for the heartbeat bill. And she says, give me a minute. And she booked a flight from South Carolina to come here today. A woman who has been on the forefront for the last 6 years testifying for the Ohio heartbeat bill, which finally did pass. We welcome Michelle Heidelbaugh to the platform. Michelle?
Hello. I'm just here as a witness against Roe. I'm here as a witness for all of the tens of the millions of women who have suffered from the pain and the devastation of abortion in their life. Had I heard my baby's heartbeat, I never would have had an abortion. The heartbeat shows us that it's the beginning of life. So let's make that life safe again, here and now. We ask and we pray that the Congress will pass this into law and stop the pain and the heartache for the women, the mothers in this country, and to protect the babies at Heartbeat. Thank you so much.
Next, someone else who was there, I believe, from the very first press conference back in 2011, Mark Harrington from Created Equal, who has been in the trenches with us, fighting to keep hearts beating. Mark.
Thank you, Janet. Today is a historic day, and I don't just say that because it's hyperbole. It is a historic day, just as it was a historic day in 2011 when we stood on the south steps of the Ohio Capitol and introduced the first heartbeat bill in the nation. It took 5 years, but we got it through the legislature, and we're not done in Ohio. It's a historic day today because we stand here at the U.S. Capitol to introduce the federal heartbeat bill, and we hope it doesn't take as long as it took in Ohio. But it's a new day in Washington. President Trump spoke the other day about American carnage, and he talked about that being the unrealized human potential of a nation. I cannot think of anything more American carnage than the killing of a preborn baby. We at Created Equal stand behind this bill. We stand with Janet and the Congress, and we will work very, very hard to see this come to pass in the Congress and be signed by President Trump as soon as possible. Thank you.
While the moment of conception is the beginning of our lives, the heartbeat is the universally recognized indicator of life. There's not a hospital in the world that doesn't recognize that if there's a beating heart, there's life. And one who's been on the forefront of protecting human life, Reverend Pat Mahoney of the Christian Defense Coalition. We're so grateful that you're here, Pat. If you join us now.
Right here. Thank you, Congressman Janet. You're just incredible for what you are doing. When I got involved in the pro-life movement 44 years ago, there was a real argument on when life begins and was it even human. That argument has been settled. So here today, we invite our pro-choice friends, come out of the dark ages, the world is not flat, and let's work together toward protecting innocent human life and ending the violence of abortion. God bless.
You know, it's interesting, when we brought in an ultrasound in Ohio of the baby, we showed the beating heart, and as you'd imagine, the pink hat wearers were upset with that. They didn't like that at all. And I said, isn't it sad that to defend your pro-abortion position, you've got to run away from technology, to run away from science and the indicator that has recognized human life at every other stage. We no longer will recognize, with Congressman King's bill, we will no longer discriminate against the very young. We'll recognize that beating heart in the youngest members of the human family. I'd like to now introduce from Priest for Life, Father Stephen Imbarato. We're so grateful that you've joined us, Father.
I want to thank Janet and our Congress people here, brothers and sisters. I send greetings from Father Frank Pavone, the National Director of Priests for Life and Gospel of Life Ministries. I want to echo Janet's words, President Trump's words. We need to make America safe again. And we cannot do that unless we make the wombs of our moms safe again. Let's save babies' hearts from being exterminated and women's hearts from being broken. All pro-lifers should be willing to fight with Congressman King and all of our elected legislators to pass this legislation. Let us pass this bill now and make the wombs of our American women safe again and protect our babies from the extermination that we have so prevalent in this country. God bless.
Thank you, Father. Now, Brandy Swindoll, she is with the Stanton Policy Center. If you'll join us now, Brandy.
Thank you. I'm Brandy Swindoll, founder and CEO of Stanton Healthcare. We are a life-affirming women's clinic. We have clinics all around the nation, and we strongly support this heartbeat bill because we want to make America safe again for children in the womb. We believe that human rights begin in the womb, and we also want to make America safe again for women. The majority of women who come to our clinics, when they meet with one of our nurses, when they get that opportunity to see or hear the heartbeat of their unborn child for the very first time, that is a game changer for a woman, because women inherently and instinctively know at that point that that is a human life. Over 90% of the women who come through our doors who see or hear the heartbeat of their baby end up carrying that baby to term. The power of our work is pictured right here, and the power of this bill, the heartbeat bill, is represented right here. This is one of our Stanton babies. So thank you, Janet. Thank you, lawmakers, for standing for these children. Their story matters, their lives matter, and thank you for standing for women. This is a good bill for women's health.
I'd now like to bring forward another post-abortive mother. Her name is Rebecca Porter, no relation, from Operation Outcry.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Porter, and I am from Florida, and I'm here representing the Justice Foundation and the over 4,500 women of Operation Outcry. We are women that have been hurt by abortion, and our written testimonies have been submitted as legal evidence to the courts and states all over this nation and the Supreme Court. So many of us were lied to about fetal development. We were not told that our children had a heartbeat already, and told that our children were blobs of tissue. So as representing the women of Operation Outcry, we do support the heartbeat bill. We want women to be safe and protected again, and we want our children to be protected also in the womb. Thank you.
Just two more brief statements. We have next Larry Sirignano. He is with Children First Policy. What are you, Center? One of those. We welcome Larry. Sorry.
Children First Foundation, the people who put together the Choose Life license plates around the country, now in 31 states and D.C., helping to promote adoption. But we're here to tell you that President Trump said we should be bold. We shouldn't be messing around the edges and talking about saving babies who are born alive. We shouldn't be talking about little things and little incremental steps. We should be bold and protect every embryo from the moment of conception. And that's where we're going with this bill. Let's go and protect every heartbeat so everybody that has a heartbeat is safe. Let's make America safe again. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if, Congressman, you want to take questions after this, but there is just one more speaker. She is with Students for Life. We welcome Reagan Barklage, who would like to comment today. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Reagan Barklage, the Western Regional Director for Students for Life of America, and I am here on behalf of the 1,100 plus Students for Life groups we have across the country. We all know it's a scientific fact that life begins at conception, and this federal heartbeat bill shows everyone the humanity of the unborn child. At Students for Life, we support any legislation that would protect innocent human beings from the horror of abortion and make America safe again. Thank you.
Well, I thank all the speakers that have been here today, and especially those that came the furthest for this cause that we care the most about. At this point, we'd entertain any questions with brief answers you might ask, and you brave the cold more than anybody else. I wanted to give you mine, but I had too much in my pockets.
If you could state where your name and where you're from.
Mm-hmm. Well, the commitment question is that we're pretty early in this process. We've got to build some support for this before we can ask for those commitments. And so this is the launch of the heartbeat bill. Second is that we think that this bill, properly applied, does eliminate a large share of the abortions. 90% or better of the abortions in America. We leave an exception for the life of the mother under the circumstances that I described, and that's consistent with the moral foundation that human life is sacred in all of its forms.
Oh, and will you have a subcommittee hearing on this bill soon?
Well, I hope to do that. We'll have to build a little more support for this before I can say yes to that. But I chair the Constitution Subcommittee. That's very much a topic that we would be right in our wheelhouse. So I'm hopeful we'll get that put together. But at this point, I can't make that commitment.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Is this the first 6-week?
Could you say your name and your organization?
Emma O'Connor, BuzzFeed News. Is this the first 6-week abortion ban to be introduced federally ever since Roe v. Wade?
To my knowledge, yes. Any others? Joe?
By the way, could I just add to that? This really isn't a 6-week abortion ban.
I
This is
didn't
a
hear
heartbeat bill. And you could call it that in the same way we look at the heartbeat at the end of life. We could say, well, the heartbeat is an 80-year-old ban or protecting from, no. It depends on when that heartbeat is heard. So it doesn't really, that heartbeat could vary. It could be 8 weeks, could be 12 weeks, could be 10 weeks that baby's heartbeat is heard. So it's really indicating driven by the heartbeat and not by an arbitrary time.
Good. Joe?
First, why heartbeat versus from point of conception, and also sort of in the context of the Supreme Court, how do you see this interaction with Roe versus Wade and then the pending nomination?
Well, I think the results we've seen from this Supreme Court in past years wouldn't give me much optimism, but the opening that we have and the openings that we may have do give me optimism, and I think that we need to move forward with this. Any issue that has to do with life and abortion is going to be litigated to the Supreme Court level, and so we're doing a bit of a head start here, but by the time we would march this thing down to the Supreme Court, the faces on the Supreme Court will be different. We just don't know how much different, but I'm optimistic.
And why heartbeat versus just from the point of conception?
Well, because we from a scientific proof standpoint, we can't point to that point of conception and say this was the moment. But if we can detect a heart, we know there is life there. And I recall an individual. He was just a business colleague of mine who was discussing this years ago, World War II vet, and he said, well, if you say it's not life, then tell me, do you have to kill it in order to commit an abortion? And of course the answer is yes. And I just don't think we say that enough. That is what happens. And so that moment that the heartbeat can be detected, we know that life is there, and we cannot err on the side that goes against life. We must err on the side of life. Yes.
President Trump said this is a state's issue. Is introducing this federally at odds with the new president?
I don't know that that's at odds. He has said he's pro-life. This heartbeat bill, is not at odds with a pro-life president. And I think it's important that the states advance this legislation in every state that can. When that happens, that builds a national consensus. It's important we advance this heartbeat bill as far as we can, as fast as we can here in Congress. And I'd like to see the whole nation come together at every state and at the federal level. I mean, that's the first guarantee of the Declaration, is the right to life. And so, but thanks for your question, the opportunity to answer it. That wraps it up. I appreciate you being out here in the cold. I wish you'd had a coat.
Thanks, Congressman. Thank you. God bless you, my friend.